This year has been a great year for Spider-Man, hasn't it? A new video game, being in Infinity War, and now we are currently awaiting Into the Spider-Verse.
Do animals talk in this dimension? Because I don't want to freak them out.
But the old webhead has proven more successful with his cartoons. And, believe it or not, he's had 9 animated shows. And of those, we've had some good ones and some bad ones. But there's always been that series that everyone points to when asking which is the best and definitive Spider-Man cartoon. And to no one's surprise, we often say Spectacular Spider-Man. But what if I were to tell you that there's another hidden gem? One Spider-Man show that has stood out above the rest. And today, 15 years later, we are here to pay our tributes to it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Spider-Man, the new animated series. Damn, 15 years later, and that intro still gets me every time. Now, I know what y'all are thinking. What did I just watch? And where exactly did this series come from? Well, allow me to explain. Back in the early 2000s, Spider-Man was slowly making his way back into the mainstream for a new era and a new generation. Around this time, Brian Michael Bendis, the creator of Ultimate Spider-Man, was about to get a new animated series based off of the comics. But all of that changed when the new Sam Raimi film came out and hit theaters and broke all kinds of records. So then the show was quickly reworked to follow and take place right after that film, with Brian Michael Bendis being one of the producers for it. And the rest is history. Now that we're done talking about where the show came from, let's talk about what makes it stand out from its peers. And what better place to begin than in its animation? Now, as you can tell, the show abandons the traditional 2D animation Spider-Man has often been known for, and instead goes for a CGI look with cel-shading added. The art director of the show was David Hartman, who gave us the art directing for Transformers Prime. And of course, the CG animation was also produced by Mainframe Entertainment. Now that name should sound familiar to you, as they produced lots of shows and films. These of course being Reboot, Transformers Beast Wars / Beast Machines, Scary Godmother 1 and 2, Max Steel, and a lot of Barbie films. And yes, while it may look a little dated in some areas, it surprisingly still holds up decently today. And back then, this was groundbreaking for its time, that caught everyone's eyes. And it can be argued that Spider-Man was the first show to embrace this technology, while other shows would start using it later down the road. But the animation isn't the only thing that makes the show work. It's also the mature and dark writing it has going for it. Each episode will start off with 2 things going on. Peter and his friends at their college, either hanging out or just working on some schoolwork. And while this is going on, we'll get introduced to the villain of the episode. But sometimes the episode can change things up a little bit. And with this series being direct continuity with Sam's first film, the show is actually allowed to have as much creative freedom as it wants to. So, with that being said, the writers chose not to rely on the most popular Spidey villains, only using the Lizard, Electro, and the Kingpin. And, may I say, all of them were greatly portrayed, and I loved how each of them were developed. And fun fact, the Kingpin looks exactly like his Daredevil counterpart, and they actually went the extra step to get Michael Clark Duncan to reprise his role. That is awesome. Now, the music is something else that deserves high praise. And unlike most Spider-Man cartoons, the new animated series ditches the music style we were all accustomed to. And instead, the show's composers gave us a techno and synthwave style to it. And oh my god, each episode has a memorable track to it that just makes it so enjoyable to listen to on its own. But unfortunately, no CDs were ever released for the soundtrack, not even bootlegs. So if you want to listen to these amazing tracks, you'll have to watch the episodes. Now, let's get to the best for last. And boy oh boy, I'm excited. Let's talk about the voice actors. The voice acting is hands down one of the best I've heard for a Spider-Man cartoon. Each actor delivers their lines with such grace, and it all just feels so right. The main highlights, of course, being Peter, MJ, and Harry. We, of course, have the awesome Neil Patrick Harris playing Peter Parker and his alter ego. Now, like all of you, Josh Keaton will always be my definitive Spidey, but Neil comes dead second. Whenever he's Peter, he's a bit shy and a little timid sometimes. But when he puts on the mask, his voice is actually deeper and he sounds more confident.
Listen, I've really got to take care of something. But if you want, I'll be back in about an hour.
Nice of you to drop by.
Not a problem. Will I be fighting any of your henchmen, or did you already eat them?
And whenever this Spider-Man cracks a joke, it's not too forced, even when the stakes are high. It just feels appropriate.
Cute trick. Where were you when we had an energy crisis?
And his performance was so good, he actually got to come back and reprise his role as the Webhead in Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Lisa Loeb and Ian Ziering do a great as MJ and Harry as well, and their performances as these characters are just so great. I can't praise it enough. As we see in the film, Harry and MJ are always there for Peter to support him, no matter what, and the main three actors just have so much great chemistry. I can believe that these three have been friends for a long time. Now, the rest of the supporting cast is all great too, but it's nothing to write home about. And as you can tell just by how these episodes look and sound, and this being the darkest Spider-Man we've ever seen, all of it sounds great on paper, but in the end, why did it get canceled? Well, unfortunately, because of low ratings and not enough interest from MTV, they decided to drop the show for good. But because of reruns and being nominated for 2 Annie Awards, the show has since gained a cult following and is still being celebrated to this day. Now, after 15 years, this is the ultimate question. Does the new Spider-Man series still hold up? Well, in my opinion, absolutely yes. Everything about the show has a great style and ring to it, and the writing can compete with most modern-day Spidey shows today. Now, I'm not saying it's great just because of how it looks, but because of how it treats us like adults and it isn't afraid to take risks that will end up paying off. Even in its dark series finale, which, by the way, it had some balls to go out the way it did. And while yes, it does suck that the Spider-Man new animated series ended way too soon before it could ever show us where it could go and how it could accomplish where it set its sights, I'm sure they would have resolved everything in its cliffhanger if the show got picked up and were to come back for a second season. But nevertheless, I don't mind how it ended in its bold way, because I had never seen a series finale that only lasted 1 season go out like this. But I can still understand how it frustrates and upsets fans to this day. But I still love this show. I do wish my younger self would have checked it out back then. But regardless, I'm still happy I was able to watch it from beginning to end and see just how great it was. And if you're interested, I would highly recommend you go check it out. And since the series had no ongoing story, you can just watch any episode in any order you like. And with this being said, I like to take this opportunity to thank the crew, the cast, the writers, the producers, for giving us such a great show that went the distance and gave us a unique take on the Webhead without being afraid to show us what they could do with this character that probably won't be done again to this extent, unless if you count these. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, then please hit that like button. If you are new to my channel, you want to stick around, then please hit that subscribe button. And if you want to stay up to date with all of my videos and more, then please hit that little notification bell. And also, too, let me know what you thought about this show. Do you remember it? If you do, what episode was your favorite? And if you hadn't seen the show and you just passed it off, then I highly recommend you give it a watch. But whatever you feel, comment down below and let's get a friendly discussion going about it. And until then, everyone, I want to thank you all for watching, and this is the Jedi Bender saying, I'll see you all for the next one.